Yes, well, we've just arrived here in Marrakesh, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but some of the destruction and devastation is really incredible. What we're seeing here just out of shot on the other side of the street are many families sleeping in public parks, sleeping on the streets, sleeping on the side of the roads, rather than sleep at home, because they're afraid that more aftershocks could potentially bring more buildings crashing down here in the center of Marrakesh. Now, as far as the epicenter goes, as you mentioned, that epicenter is 60 to 70 kilometers away from here, and the problem is that it's in a remote area in the Atlas Mountains, so it's been extremely difficult to get there. We've been hearing police reports, the government talking about how they are clearing some of the national roads, also the regional roads, but many of those remain closed. So it's difficult to know exactly what's happening in the worst hit areas of this earthquake, meaning that it's very likely that we'll see a rise in those numbers, in the death toll, in the critically injured numbers, in the number of people who so desperately need help after this terrible tragedy.
Yes, Ken, as you mentioned, people definitely need some of the help right now. So could you please tell us how are the search and rescue operations coming along, and are survivors getting what they need right now?
Well, as I mentioned, that's the real problem here, is the remoteness of these villages in the Ighil area, around that town, around that region. So what we have are emergency services trying to reach those areas by helicopter. We heard from the Moroccan king today talk about how all the resources available to the army are currently being deployed, are currently being used to try and get to the people who most desperately need help. We've heard of certain villages where the army has reached, and they're putting up tents and areas where they can tend to the injured and also try and bring water and basic supplies like food to those people. But as I mentioned, not a huge amount of detail coming out yet. We're hoping to learn more over the next coming hours, potentially even try and get down there ourselves. But as I mentioned, many of those roads are still quite dangerous. Many are still completely closed. The local authorities doing what they can to try and do what they can to make that situation better.